Glad to have you back. If you're just joining us, this is Firecrackers, and we're just about to get started. And we want to analyze the emergence of insecurity in Nigeria. I'll be starting with my guest here in the studio. Between Plateau attacks in Plateau State, attack in Borno, Zamfara, Benue State, and all that, we thought that perhaps we should have moved past this, or even if we've not moved past this, we are expecting reduction in the record of crime, violence, banditry. But ironically, it seems that it is even climbing. What do you think is responsible for this in the country at this time?
Well, a lot of reasons definitely will be responsible for that. And one thing that you cannot take away is these are police motivated. I'm sure the security agencies will get to the root of the matter, because each time you are going to go into another election cycle, you see politicians can do a lot. First, to make sure that the government in power lose some credibility, and so they are not able to, prevent his cockard. That what they promised to do. You know that there was, from 2023, there was a slowdown in those activities of those violent crimes. Now there's a spike. So it's just for the government and the security agents to, pick up the battery again and do what they have to do, what they are trained to do. So that's what I think is responsible. A lot of politically motivated activity in that area to make sure that the government is there. There's on the political front, there's a lot of coming together. Let's collaborate. Let's unite all the opposition parties. Let's take the government, the power from the incumbent, and so they will not leave anything to make sure that the government that's in power lose credibility, especially in security, because security has always been, government exists for the security, protection of life and property. That's number one duty of any government. Any government that cannot do that, you know that even this APC gained power because the PDP of that time, during Jonathan, was not able to take Nigeria. There was insecurity all over the place. So that was what was sold to Nigeria. Oh, when we come, we are bringing Buhari is a military general. So we will use his military, experience to make sure that we bring down this insecurity. That was what was sold to Nigerians. So now, what are you seeing? You are seeing with the change of architecture of security all over the place. In 2023, there was a continuous, slowdown. And now, what do you say? And now we are going to another election cycle. There's a lot of activity on the political front. So, but it is for the security agents to interrogate the issue very well and see whether there have been lackadaisical attitude on the security forces and what collaboration. Because, see, this insecurity in Nigeria cannot be won by kinetic operations alone. You have to bring everybody, all the communities. Because you see, we don't have enough men. I'll keep saying it. And the statistics are there. We don't have enough men in the military or in the police service to be able to police every community. So, and these people they exploit all the, area where there's no governance. The communities where there's no road, even if you have to deploy security forces there are no roads. So by the time the security agency will have been mobilized to get there, they have gone. Because some of those communities are unmotorable. I've just returned from Abeokuta this afternoon. The roads are bad. Even in the urban centers. Try and drive from Ibadan to Ife. The roads are not there. Not talk of the inner communities where there's, so even if you have this, before you can mobilize, before you can get their vehicles and say, let's go. And some of these things are happening in the night. So to make it even more difficult for the security forces.
Definitely, especially in places where there's no electricity supply. How would they be able to navigate their ways and all that? Okay, now to our virtual guest, that's Alex Okonkwo. For the past 10 years, that's a decade now, Nigeria seems to always be battling this issue of insecurity. But if you are to compare how it was in about 2014 to 2025, you would notice an increase. Sadly, it's not a decrease, because after the old Boko Haram issue, the kidnapping of the Chibok girls and Dapchi girls, we started seeing emergence of banditry, kidnapping, which seems to be at its peak now. And then now we are having communal clashes. We are also having issues of banditry and all that. What do you think might be the cause of this increase that we seem to be on when it comes to insecurity in Nigeria?
Okay, that's a good question. First, let me thank my colleague for having mentioned clearly the fact that this can be politically motivated. I mean, the increase we are witnessing right now. But I'll add to that that even since 2014, like you mentioned, we've only been tackling one aspect of the problem, which is purely military. And let me say it here without any doubts that the military aspect of it will never, and I insist, will never be enough. Because it's a simple fact. We have not solved the problems that give us these consequences of insecurity. The economic hardships are still there. In fact, that has worsened. Probably it's not intended by the government in terms of their policies, but we can say it has worsened for now. I'm talking of economic hardship. People are poorer than they used to be. That is a fact. We're not discussing that. There is a high number of people out of school. Let me tell everybody that is listening that we're talking about 13 million young people. What do you think is going to be the breeding ground for the next set of insecurity agencies? Let me say bandits in the next years to come. They are already there within us. They are not at school as we speak.
Sincere apologies.
So
well, we need to go on the commercial break right now. So when we come back, we will continue from what you were saying about issues of out-of-school children and the role they might be contributing to insecurity in Nigeria. Just stay with us. So much for staying with us. If you're just joining us, this is Firecrackers, and we're analyzing the emergence of insecurity in Nigeria. So we're joined by Alex Ofofo, who is a security researcher, and he was telling us about the role out-of-school children might be playing in escalating the issue of insecurity in Nigeria. Thank you so much for your patience. Please go on.
Okay, so I was saying we currently have 13 to 15 million out-of-school students. Those are very young people, and a percentage of that will definitely end in banditry. We can say that without hiding, and then find solutions to that. Then we have growing incivility, both with people in government and people out of government. Call it corruption if you want. I mean, what is happening in states like Rivers State is not any example for any youth that is growing up. These things count when we talk of insecurity. Then we have social challenges that have not been solved. Poor health system, food insecurity, lack of proper education. I'm talking of public education. The rich can go to private schools, but what is happening to majority of the schools which should be public? We still have 80% of the schools that are public. The quality of education there is very bad. Then the lack of basic necessities, both in rural Nigeria. Let us not deceive ourselves. Nigeria is not just about Rivers State, Kano, or Lagos State. What about Gombe, Taraba? What about Ondo, Ekiti? Are people bothered about the rural communities there? So when we say insecurity, and I add to what my colleague said, the political aspect of it, because of course there's a political aspect of it. So all these things are challenges that we've not solved yet. And if we've not solved them, there's no need sending the 23 Brigade or infantry to a location where they are not based. They will dislodge the current bandits, go back to their base somewhere in Kaduna, and the bandits will come back. So we've been doing that for 15 years or so. And of course, the solutions are still out. We're not taking care of the solutions. I always give a good example, very simple example. Sometime in your lifetime, you must have had ants in your kitchen. Everybody has had that because you've left some crumbs, you've left some food uncovered or some unwashed plates. When you saw those ants, you got pretty much angry. You took a fleet and you fleeted them, and that bunch of ants died. But a few days later, you still left food uncovered. Another set of ants have come again. They are not the same ones, obviously. But it's still because you left food uncovered, you left crumbs in the kitchen, you didn't wash your plates 3 days, 4 days after. Why are you surprised to see ants again? So if we keep doing the same things and leaving the socio-economic aspect of insecurity unmanned, we will be here for centuries talking about insecurity. When people go around saying Fulani headsmen, excuse me please, Fulani headsmen, are you saying that everything that happens in this country is Fulani headsmen? Are we saying that every time there's an attack, is it Fulani that came to attack? Let us be serious and look at this thing holistically. Because if we keep saying Fulani herdsmen, it will now seem to the ordinary Nigerian the solution is just to stop the Fulanis. But we have community clashes here. We have agitators from secessionists in the southeast and in the south-south. We have political crises in places like Kaduna, the south of Kaduna and north of Kaduna. They are not Fulani headsmen. These are people who are fighting for boundaries. Some Kaduna people have always asked for 2 states. That's within Kaduna itself. These are not Fulani people. The governor of Plateau State mentioned it clearly. What happened in Plateau State were not Fulanis. He knows that bandits have come in through Pandem Forest to come and attack locals, to push them away for illegal mining. Those are not Fulanis. So to go around and just say Fulani headsmen will make us not look at what are the possible solutions, because we think it's just stopping the Fulani headsmen and the problem will be solved. Let me stop at that.
All right. Look, definitely, that is actually something to really think about. When we look at how things are in Nigeria, like I love the analysis you made when it comes to issues of ants, and then you apply the fleet. That's like the fire brigade approach. But is it that we've not actually been able to pinpoint what is attracting these ants, so to speak? What is attracting these issues of insecurity? Because rightly you did mention issue of the socioeconomic problem, the issue of out of school children and all that. But when we look at how both of them go, when we look at the economy and insecurity, whenever there is insecurity, there's always an economic issue. Farmers are unable to go to farm because they're scared for their life. So how do we balance that if we know that both of them draw each other? So which Hydra head are we cutting off first?
Okay, very simple. Let's take it one by one. Let me still use the Fulani headsmen, because that's what people understand easily. First thing you must understand, anybody that understands how northern Nigeria works, we in the south are the ones that eat meat more. That's the first thing you have to know. So all these cattle that are moving around is mainly for the southern market. A lot of northerners don't eat meat the way we eat meat. So the Fulani herdsmen they're talking about are moving around because there's lack of sufficient land in the north for them to graze. Nobody is saying here that grazing is still normal. It's archaic. The nomadic grazing they're doing is archaic. But for now, that's what we have. The solutions are not going to come tomorrow. It will take time. We can create ranging zones where they can go and graze, because we still need to eat cattle, unless we are saying let's stop eating meat totally in Nigeria. As long as we still need to eat meat, the solution is to find a way where they can graze and where people can grow their cattle without disturbing farmers. The two must cohabit. There's no other way to do it. We need the meat and we need the vegetable protein. We need both. So what the government can do is to create a way that these people can be nomadic in their own zones and still have grazing land, feed their cattle. That was what the past government tried to propose. Maybe maladroitly, maybe wrongly, by saying Ruga, but that is a probably solution before we get into mechanized and modern grazing, which is what is done elsewhere, abroad. But we're not there yet. We can't just move from what we know and then move to what Denmark does. Denmark is a richer country in terms of agriculture. So we will get there over time. But for now, emergency, let's get these people to graze in locations where we can control them. They don't need to move around and go to the parts of the south and all that. They can be in proper land that is left to them to graze their animals. Where these clashes come up is when they move from forest into people's farm. The farmers now retaliate and both of them go into clashes. Of course, these headers are more armed, let me say more experienced in terms of this kind of warfare that we have, and they end up decimating local people and becoming a very shameful. I saw your image earlier. It brings tears to people's eyes. But the solution is not in castigating a particular population of Nigeria. There are almost 20 million Fulanis, 20% of Fulanis in Nigeria. What are we going to do? Are we going to drive all the Fulanis out of Nigeria? By the way, the whole of West Africa has a huge percentage of Fulanis. Fulanis are everywhere, in Niger Republic, in Burkina Faso, in Mali. So when we say Fulanis, we are saying Fulanis in general because they are nomadic. Some of them go from Niger Republic up to Benin Republic, crossing through Nigeria. They will always go to where there are fertile grounds. That's what cattle eat. They don't eat sand. So we just need to find a solution where the two types of farming, call it agriculture, subexist. together. There's nothing we can do. We cannot stop the meat side and we cannot stop the farmers. The thing is to find a solution where these people can graze in a place they do not have contact directly with farmers. They used to do that before in the 80s and the 70s. We've always had Fulanis. Let Nigerians not get it wrong. Herdsmen have always existed. They've always existed. So it's not something new. It's the clashes that are new and that are more and more violent.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for that. Now to my guest here in the studio.
Yeah.
When we look at Benue State seems to be one of the epicenters for farmer-elder clashes in Nigeria. So I had to ask questions that how were things done in the past? Because like our guest said that there have always been elders. Elders have always been in existence. And then one of the things that the person that I asked this question, one of the things he said was, if you lost control of your cattle and then they go into another person's farm, and you would pay for the damage that they've done there. So if that has been in existence for a very long time, what exactly would we say caused that change? That it seemed as if they got violent, and instead of resolving things amicably like they've done in the past, then things just got violent. And what exactly would we say is going on with the anti-open grazing law? Because attacks in Benue State is not something new, it's something that has always and always been happening. Would we say that there is a state government that is not doing enough to curb these things?
Well, you will, if we reference the last administration in Benue State, for it, governor was Autumn.
Yes,
yeah, that under him there was, Benue was the epicenter of we held up farmer clashes, and we saw a lot of people. I mean, at the point, I think about 75 people was killed in the villages, and we saw the mass burial that was publicized. And there was anti-open grazing law, and you know there was these clashes with the people. Oh, you can't do it. Oh, it's a federal government. Everybody has the right to move around, and so he wasn't getting federal government support. At the point, because of that, he had to leave APC because he was an APC governor. He had to decamp to PDP and all of that. So, but that kind of simmered down. And so now there's a spike. It's not just in Benue State, even in Plateau State. Okay? Now Plateau State, the governor is saying that 64 of his communities in the state are already occupied. And there's genocide. Genocide is not about header farmer clashes again. It's about people coming in the night and killing unarmed people, and they will disappear. That one is not header farmer clashes. And that people are being chased away from their indigenous community and new people are taking over. That can't be heard up. So there's a bigger problem that needs a wider interrogation, more than Fulani and all of that and all of that. So what do? Government has to be intentional to know that this, you have to arm all the communities against these people. Because if you don't do that, the community has to rise up to protect the indigenous community. These are communities that have existed for hundreds of years. How can you now surrender that community? Okay? I come from such a community like that. That we just saw, one day we just saw these truckloads of Fulani people, and they came to our community. It's a border town in our own state. But the community rise up and say, no, we won't let this happen. You can't stay here. And all the people that are not employed in the village, the young people have to be armed, have to be, bring to vigilante, and they say, no, we will not allow it. And thank God for people who have served in the military in our place. All of them came together. And we said, no, this community must be defended, because I remember when we were younger that it is the hunters that protect our community. We don't look for soldiers or policemen. In the night, they don't sleep. They police all the borders of the community. So the community has to come together. You can't leave this to government alone. Government will not be able to do it. When you call on government, how many soldiers do we have served in the army before? I'm a retired military officer. How many soldiers do we have in our armed forces? For example, how many communities can they police at the same time? Are they motivated? Do you know how much the politicians have taken? And they see all of these things. Because the politicians, after you have served for 35 years, what you are going to take when you are retiring is what the politicians take in a month. Nobody is talking about that. And they see all of these things. How much are the senators earning? How much are you paying the military and the policemen that you are depending to go and fight them? These are the issues that need to be interrogated. They are not motivated. They don't put their life in the life, because whatever happened to them while fighting Boko Haram, what will happen to their family? Will the children be able to go to school? So the people that are in the civil society, these are the issues they should come and bring to the fore. We have a government that is, the political system that is, high cost of governance is knocking out every other thing. We're not doing anything. The politicians are just playing this game. You will see what they are doing. They are the one instigating all this fight. They want to discredit the government there now, so that new government, new opposition, this collaboration can say, oh, this government failed. They couldn't do any security of life and property. They are the ones sponsoring all those attacks. I can tell you from my own experience. They are the ones, and they will continue to sponsor more. And so that the next people that are coming, they will now collaborate and say, hey, yeah, when we come in 2027, vote for us. We will make sure that life protection of life and property. They are the same people who did it against Jonathan. They are the same people that are coming together. So when they lose power, they can do anything. But the government that's empowered now has a duty. That's not an excuse. Okay? They have to go after these bad guys. And you can use firepower, you can use electronic, whatever, and the government is not investing in that area because the cost of governance, the thing that they are spending money on is too much. And the first duty of government is to protect life and property of the citizen. If any government fails to do that, that government does not deserve to stay.
Okay, now in this game of chess, that it's so sad that the citizens have become pawns that could be easily discarded just to be a means to an end for these people to actualize their own selfish goals. I think it is still appropriate to use the word selfish at this moment. But if we are trying to look at this from this angle of arming the citizens themselves, the citizens being able to arm themselves, is there not a risk of Nigeria descending to become a country like the United States where there is always perpetual gun violence? Do we not run risk of that?
No, there have always been ways that the indigenous community protect their community in the past. Okay? They have to go back to it. I've seen communities where cows were there and their cows died in hundreds and they will run away. Yes, it's there on television. I watch it. That when they come and graze their cows, they come in the morning and they saw that 70 cows, 100 cows died overnight. They will leave. So I'm not advocating for all of that, but I'm saying that the indigenous communities cannot leave their protection to government. Government will not be able to do it. We'll keep talking about this thing. We'll still come to this area and be analyzing. And they will now hear that they move to other communities. Yeah, so, but the indigenous community, government must assist them to make sure that they protect their indigenous community. Why communities that have existed, and some people will just come in a night and they chase them away, and the governor of Plateau had him on television that these same people will now occupy the same village, take over their farmlands, and they will now be looking for refugee camp for those people, and they will be able to bring them back only for them to be chased away again, for their children, their wives, and to be displaced and to be abused. How long can that continue to happen? You think military alone can do that, can protect them?
That's definitely something to think about. And now to Alex Okonkwo, because it seems insecurity, people trying to take advantage of other people, is something that has been happening for time immemorial. It's not something new. But like our guest here in the studio have said, each community is usually have a way of protecting themselves. But since that is not happening now, would we say that perhaps it is like a dialectical attitude, or this attitude of every man for himself, and people not really caring about what happens to their neighbor? Could we say that that is one of the reasons why our communities that used to be a strong force, that they usually have this protection all around themselves, that is why it is not so currently? Would we say that it's because the people themselves don't really care, or there might be another factor that we are not seeing yet?
No, well, look, as much as I adhere to what my colleague said, and if I summarize, he is saying people should take security into their hands as well as their responsibility. It doesn't necessarily mean that every element in a community should carry arms, because if that was the case, when the political issues came up in Rivers State, I will tell you all the waters in Rivers State will be red as we speak. If every citizen had guns, it will have been settled well before the sole administrator was appointed. So we have a general habit as human beings of exaggerating whatever we hear. So when we say tackle insecurity, people understand carry guns. But the problem of insecurity is not always guns. For example, and my colleague mentioned it, lack of good governance. Guns are not going to solve that. We need to get our political system correct. That is, the people we elect have to really be people that want to represent the communities. That's number one. We have environmental crisis. A lot of these things are land grabbing issues. It has been mentioned. People looking for land, fertile land in terms of farmers, but also people are looking for land. What is more interesting now is that what is under the land is more interesting now than what is above the land. What I'm trying to say is this. In some areas in Benue, Plateau, and Niger states that were known for farming, and they are the baskets of Nigeria, food baskets of Nigeria, it is becoming more and more interesting to get what is under the ground, lithium, copper, and all that, which are more expensive and easily adapted. You don't have to wait 9 months for the crops to harvest. You get them immediately and you sell to Chinese and you make your money. So communities are being driven away so that we can take what is under their land, not above the land. So that's another issue. That will not be solved with just guns. We still have our porous borders. People are crossing from Niger Republic, coming into Nigeria, to Zamfara, for example, commit crimes and go back to Niger Republic. That also is not just arms. You need more surveillance, you need more technology and more manpower, actually. Then lack of population control. We have serious issues of population here. When I mean control, I don't mean just bad control. I mean rural-urban movement. A lot of the communities don't have young people again. They're all coming to the cities. What Oga was saying on your platform was that in the 70s and the 80s, you had young men in their communities. Some of them were hunters, some of them were vigilantes. We've had that since the 60s, 70s, and 80s. These were young men who stayed in their rural communities. They're all in Lagos as we speak. They're all in the Rivers, Port Harcourt, in Kano. They are no more in their communities in Taraba, in Gombe. So where are the young men that you're going to use to protect your community? All these things are issues. You see, I've not mentioned anything about gun. Then there's the degrading socio-cultural value system. Today, when you come with a G-Wagon to your village, nobody asks you where you got the money from. So you might be harboring bandits. You might be helping them transform their money. You might be the one doing businesses for kidnappers. You might be the one selling guns to them. Nobody's asking where you got the money from. Everybody's hailing you because you got a G-Wagon. That was not the case in the 70s and 80s. That's a socio-economic issue that guns will not solve. We have to go back to values. So you see, insecurity is holistic. Until we take it holistic and maybe even do a bit less of what we think is military and do more of what I consider cultural values, maybe we'll get a headway. Like I said, those 13, 15 million out of school children, plus the 3 million that are in Amajari schools, which are not conventional schools, they're Arabic schools. Look, we already have 20 million people that are waiting for us, ahead of us, to be potentially enrolled into one thing or the other. And I'll finish by saying this. We keep forgetting that Boko Haram still exists. We are currently at our third generation of Boko Haram fighters. The first generation, most of them are dead or too old to go to the field. I'm talking of Boko Haram terrorists now. The second generation have been decimated. There was a time we fought them strongly, and most of them were killed or injured or arrested. We have over 70,000 people somewhere in an IDP camp being examined. The third generation are in it for the money. They are not Islamists. They don't read the Quran. They are being paid to fight us. They are being paid to ambush soldiers. What do? It is purely economic. They don't pray. They don't pray 5 times a day. They're not expecting any 7 virgins in heaven. They are being paid daily to come and conquer land for land grabbers and people who want to do illegal mining. So we are having a complex issue, and most Nigerians are thinking they're going to be simple solutions of sending the first division. No, the solutions are going to be as complex as the problems. Unfortunately, I must add.
To this fact that some people are saying the cause of insecurity in Nigeria, especially these land grabbers, these bandits and all that, they themselves might not be citizens of Nigeria, or perhaps their masterminds might not be citizens of Nigeria, but they are just using Nigerians as a tool to get what they need done. Would you also subscribe to that?
Yes, a portion of those who are causing mayhem in Nigeria are not Nigerians, because Nigeria is part of West Africa and we are still the richest country in West Africa. And you know, it's human to go to the richest place. Everybody's looking for green pasture. As Nigerians are looking for green pasture in Canada, people from Niger Republic are looking for greener pastures in Nigeria. You cannot stop that unless we decide not to do anything with every country around us. Unfortunately, because our borders are not efficiently manned yet, we might get there, but as we speak, not yet. We have all elements crossing. Don't forget, there's still a lot of trade being done with Niger Republic and the northern part of Nigeria. I'm talking of honest trade, cotton, animal husbandry and all that. But illegal elements still cross over. And those are the ones we're talking about. They still cross over. Most of them are Fulanis, but not all of them. And they cross over and they commit mayhem in Nigeria and go back. They actually go back. These people, as my colleague said, move a lot at night. So we are not equipped here in Nigeria to do all those kind of things you see on TV that the American SWAT or American police, they do. We are not yet that equipped. So we are not able to man our borders properly. By the way, I must finish by telling you we have 1,500 kilometers of border with Niger Republic alone. I hope you heard me well. 1,500 kilometers of border. It is literally impossible to do it just by human. You would need to put 10 people in every meter to be able to do that. So it has to be technology. And we are not yet equipped yet. So there are a lot of lacunas.
The distance from about Lagos to Abuja, that is a long stretch. That is definitely something to think about. But now that we've been talking about this problem and all that, now let us look at some of the solutions that, because whenever there's a problem, what we have to look towards is a solution. When it comes to the issue of using technology and gadgets, how would you rate us in Nigeria, and how do you think this might actually help solve some of this problem? Because there was one news article that I was saying that they said that the federal government deployed drones to some of these neighborhoods that are usually affected by insecurity. Yes. So I think that deserves a round of applause. Yes. I think we are doing something right.
Yes. Drone is actually, technology is actually what can help us. You can think of policing all the communities. I don't know how many communities we have when you equate it with the number of men we have in our armed forces and the police. In some of those rural areas, when you get to the police station, you can only find maybe 3, 4 policemen in their police. So how do they protect the community? So it has gotten to a level that the military, the armed forces have to invest in, technology. Okay, from where they have their camps, and when they get this alert or when they get this intelligence about community, the drone is able to do it. So it is investment in technology, and that's taking a lot of huge investment. And that's why I personally, I'm also a researcher in this area, that we keep talking about how can we have the poorest economy almost. And we have the most highly paid politicians. So it doesn't add up, okay? So we have to have politicians that are insensitive, that are sensitive to the needs of the people. Because you can't have a senator that gets this huge salary, and the military, those people that you deploy to defeat to go and fight Boko Haram, they know that after serving for 35 years, what is their gratuity? I can tell you categorically that what a senator takes in a month is what a soldier after serving for 35 years. Maybe my colleague who is a researcher should go into that area and put in the public space. Let Nigerians know why those people in the military and the armed forces and the police will not be motivated. Because they have to think of their families. That after investing our life fighting Boko Haram, what do we get after our 35 years of service and we have to go home? How much are the politicians being paid in 4 years? After they are elected to the parliament and the executive, how much did they get? All of that have to come together. So those are the things that will not allow money to be freed and be invested in security architecture, in the modern security architecture of fighting these insurgencies. Because you can't depend on the soldiers. Where are soldiers? They will, where are the soldiers? How many soldiers do you think you have in the armed forces? Let's bring out the numbers. And let's bring out the numbers of communities where they have been deployed. How much of them do I? If you go to the barracks now, you see that it's women that are protecting the barracks in the urban cities because all the men have been deployed. In my time when I was women don't carry guns in the armed forces. They only work in the nursing, hospitals, kitchen. But now, when you go to the military barracks, most of them, what you see women. They are the one guarding the gate of the military gates. Okay, yes, go and find it in Lagos. You see it. Because most of the men have been deployed to various, flashpoints. So you now have women that were not doing, though they were not being. So all of that we have to because we are not we are not having these interrogations, and the politicians are just thinking of the next election. That's what they do.
Let us look at what activist Omoyele Sowore said. he seems to be a fan of getting the Inspector General of Police out of office. Do you think that perhaps might change the security situation we have in Nigeria?
I don't believe that, because I've heard Showore saying that illegal IGP, but there was a law that was sent to the parliament to have this extension. And as soon as that one is done, you may not like the fact that the police, Inspector General Police, his service was extended, but that has been done by law. And I think it's high time that we start telling this the way it is. Okay? You may not like the fact that it's the prerogative of the president to say, I want to have this extension of service for the IGP. This is not the first time it's done. It's done in other services too. Okay? Even in the military, it was done under Buhari. So if you don't like it, but you start selling this narrative to say the legal, no, that's not true. Okay? Because there was a law that was assented to in the parliament to say, let us extend that when an IGP is elected, he should have a term. I'm not a lawyer, but there is that okay, there's no point having an IGP of 6 months and he will put all his plan together, and the next, because he retired in 6 months, another one will come, put his own plan together. But that's why the president now say, okay, let's an IGP that will be elected, let him have a term limit of 4 years, so he can be able to plan and get his management team to work with that plan, and so that you can have a stable, architecture that can fight all these vices for the next 4 years, and the IGP will have 4 years to go, and his colleagues who are, they know, okay, this is our IGP, we have 4 years to go. Instead of just retiring after 6 months, another one comes 9 months, he's going, another one comes 7 months, no.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. And now to Alex Ofonko. When we're looking at solutions to insecurity in Nigeria, we know for a fact that the constitutional amendments that is taking place now, one of the things that is being considered is establishment of state police. Do you see that as one of the things that might help with the state of insecurity that we're experiencing in Nigeria?
Okay, that's a very delicate question, because people are very emotional about it, and you will not be able to tell communities that are suffering that it might not just be their solution. But let me give you the scenario. Oftentimes, when these bandits attack, I'm not talking of herdsmen now, I'm talking of bandits. They come in 200, they're on motorbikes, their arms are sophisticated, and most of them, I have to tell you also, are better trained now than they used to be. Anybody who has been fighting the Nigerian army for 5 years has 5 years experience of warfare. He is almost a very strong soldier, I dare say. So we are thinking that people like you and I, because tomorrow we get enrolled into the state police of my state, I will now fight that bandit when he comes with an AK-47 and he's been living in the forest for 5 years. He's almost a modern day Rambo. And he is like 19 years old and he's ready to die. While I am not ready to die, and I'm just in my state police, wearing one funny uniform and going up and down parading. No. State police, when they are used elsewhere in the world, is to do state municipal jobs. So they do the petty criminal within the state. That's not a rapid response force. That's not a militarized force. That's not a SWAT force. Let us not get it wrong. There is the need for state police so that the other police will be doing the bigger type of crime. But you do need state police to get some of those functions out of what I call the Regalian or the Republican police. That's how it works. The state police does not replace your special rapid force that you should have in any case against banditry, which should be well trained and armed. So Nigerians tend to mix the two up. All the countries that have state police, like Canada, the US, and all that, have state police, but still have SWAT, still have all those other forces that are very militarized and ready to combat immediately. So let us not get it wrong. What we do need, however, and Oga has said it on the platform, is efficient governance. And that is all true. It's not just the president, it's all true, the local governments and all that. That's number one. Number two, where there are forests, and we have a lot of huge parks in Nigeria, Niger State, Benue, Plateau State, parts of Kaduna, we should have rangers forces that are there, that are localized, that are local people. Because what we are not doing is prevention. What you and I see on TV is when 40 farmers have been killed. But the people that kill 40 farmers are at least 60 in number. By the time they start moving, that signal should be done. a prevention should be done in terms of, we've seen 60 people moving towards Benue State, and the right forces should be informed to intervene. We should not only call up things when the crime has already happened, so to say. We should be working on prevention. That means more information gathering, and that means a better strategy of infiltration and using the satellite properly. So give us a warning sign that 200 people are moving towards Kaduna. We don't know who they are. Please go and check. You see what I'm saying? So it's not just about having state police. It's about having the first-hand warning that some movement is taking place. A number of people have been seen moving at night or in the morning, and we need our forces to go and intervene and check them. That force is more militarized than state police. It's going to be a force that is ready to combat them in case it's a warfare that is going on. So we need to do all these things, including what I've said earlier in the program: education, better services, improve on our poverty level here, and inequality. All those things help people to go into the wrong side of society, and the army cannot fight that. As long as this Nigerian society remains unequal and poor, so to say, you would always have clients, I call them clients, in quotes, to go into banditry, because they go into it for financial reasons. It's no more ideology. Check around you. Nobody's preaching, come and join Islam, or we're against the West. People are not preaching that anymore. People are going into kidnapping for the money. They're going into banditry for the money. They're going into illegal mining for the money. So it is clearly a socio-economic problem. And so holistically, with a few things I've said, this should be a huge program. With a few things I've said, it is not just about state police. Mind you, I didn't say it's not useful, but that will not be the solution to when you see 200 bandits coming to Gombe State. You will need an army to fight them. You will need, state police will not be enough, because they will not be so trained and they will not be so armed. Every state is not Lagos State that has the funds to have maybe a state police that might even be stronger than our national police. But we have 36 or 35 other states in Nigeria. They might not all have that level of equipment or training to be able to defend themselves.
All right, thank you so much. That has been very educational. Thank you so much for joining us today on Firecrackers. But sadly, we've run out of time, so we'll not be able to take more questions, as this is where we'll be drawing the curtains close. So thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you.
And that's Dr. Felix Olorundamilola, a security expert and public affairs analyst. And many thanks to Alex Okonkwo, a security researcher who also joined us virtually. We truly appreciated your contribution. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Have a lovely Sunday.
All right, this is where we'll be drawing the curtains close on today's episode of Firecrackers.